Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Black Entrepreneurs Institute live show. Now, guys, this is the first week of February, and let me just say, as great as our January shows were, I mean, we had Louisiana Soul, Morissette Hillary, the Nichols Youthpreneurs. Let me just tell you, February is going to match that energy. So now I am one of the co-founders, Angela Hooper Minifield, and I am here with my amazing and transformative partners. We have fellow BEI co-founders Damian Johnson.
Hi guys.
Dr. Nicole Rankin.
Hello.
And Mr. Cedric LaFleur.
How y'all doing? That's a long country, baby.
Oh, I didn't know what that was. I was like, I love you.
Right.
It's a long country,
That's right. The state of Texas. Do we not forget? Right?
It's a country, please, not a state.
Excuse me. Look, we're not even going there with you today. Okay. So, guys, how's everybody doing? How's February treating you so far?
February is off to a fantastic start. I am excited about all the prospects, Angela. Really, it's going to be a great month.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. 2021 is off to an amazing start. So, hey, second month in, we're doing great.
Yeah, and this is the month that the Lord blessed me to be born. So he blessed the world.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
All right.
Yeah, that's right.
Cedric, we've been getting feedback from our viewers, and they want you to have a little bit more confidence. So you think you can work on that for us?
I'm working on it.
So, guys, look, February is also the shortest month of the year, and it's Black History Month. And while we won't get into why that is, right? What we do know is some people use as an excuse, or as Cedric said in one of his recent teachings, an alibi for not reaching some of the goals that they may have set for their given months. The fact that it has less days, as many as 3 less days than some months. So what would you offer as guidance, advice, or a shift in thinking for people who feel that way? Cedric?
Yeah, I think that it's just an excuse. It's just an alibi. You see, regardless of what your goal is, what you need to do is strive to hit it. It doesn't matter how many days you have. So let me give you an example. That means that your monthly goal may stay the same, but your daily goal will increase. Let's say your monthly goal is $1,000 per month. During a normal month, 30 days, that's going to be, about $33 a day. But during February, you have less days. The goal stays the same. That just means you go to $36 a day. You see, it's not that much when you think about it, but you can do it. Just keep the goal the same.
I like that. Just shift the perspective, right? So what about you, Damian?
Let me see if I can frame it up for you this way, Angela. There's one of my favorite proverbs is this old African proverb, and it's the proverb about the lion and the gazelle. And it basically says that every morning in Africa, when the sun comes up, the gazelle wakes up and it knows that it must run faster than the fastest lion or it will be killed. And this, by the same token, every morning in Africa, the sun comes up, the lion wakes up, and it knows it must run faster than the slowest gazelle or it will starve. The moral of the story is this: it doesn't matter whether you're a gazelle or a lion. When the sun comes up, you better start running. And so just because there's less days in February doesn't mean that we have license to move slower. We still have to get out there and run. So whether you're hunting or whether you're prey, you want to be running. So keep the gas, keep your pedal on the metal, and make it happen for February.
I like that. That's an alignment with some of the teaching we do in our boot camp. All right, Dr. Nick, bring us home.
Yeah, so first I would say you got to decide if you want a business or a hobby, and if you say that you want a business, I would say the tip would be build like the Romans. And I say that because I was reading the article about the Roman Colosseum in Italy. It is 1,950 years old, right? Built from the best materials, crafted to last. So in terms of your business, you want to build a business that lasts for years to come, not just the short term. So you got to do your best, give your best 12 months out the year, not just 11, but all times, as Cedric say, all day and day and every day on Sunday. So 12 months out of the year, do your best, and that's what build like the Romans.
All right. Well, look, I'm taking notes myself because you guys gave some pretty good advice. Now I know I went into business with you all. So, okay, everybody, let's transition because today we have an awesome guest here with us. Now, today our guest, or tonight I should say, is Mr. Tehsuan Glover, and I'm going to bring him on stage with us while I introduce him. So now, when it comes to bios, I must first just say that Tehsuan has one of the best bios I have heard today. When he actually sent it to me, I had to smirk. I said, I love this. So let me tell you about Tehsuan. Tehsuan Glover is the youngest son of a Southern mother and a country father, born in a northern city in the golden age of hip hop. He is the father to two brilliant, beautiful children. He is the founder and publisher of the Newark Times, Newark's premier news media publication, and is also the managing partner at Studio Creative Group, a full-service creative agency. Mr. Glover is a Black man in America with whatever connotations that means to him. And he makes an incredible banana bread. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring to you my friend and someone whose services I have used myself, Tehsuan Glover. So welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
It is our pleasure.
Awesome. Welcome.
Welcome, Tehsuan. I got to say, I agree with Angela. That was an incredible bio. I love it.
Thank you very much.
So much as speakers, you read bios and, it's like a resume or a history of all people's accomplishments. And you just really cut to the chase, but it's something that's memorable. And I've made this comment before, I remember hearing Seth Godin speak one time, and he said, be remarkable in regards to something that's worthy of someone making a remark about. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was the case with your bio.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Bios are one of those things that nobody wants to write. Nobody likes to write, generally. But we get asked for them from time to time. So I'm trying to figure out the most succinct bio that I don't have to think anymore. Like, this is now my standard bio. I'm getting closer to it.
Well, I love it. So, Tehsuan, as a fellow Newarker, I just have to say how happy I am to bring Brick City to the BEI platform.
Thank you for having us.
So some of you have already seen some of Tehsuan's work and you don't know it. So recently, back in November, I did some new headshots because I was in some press releases and we were trying to up level even some of our branding for BEI and things. And so when needing such work, I went to Tehsuan, and let me just say he did an exceptional job. And I also want to commend you on the fact that I think you have a natural gift and knack in making your clients and customers feel comfortable and bringing out their personality in photos. So I want to thank you for that personally. And so again, many of you who like the photo, now you can see the man behind the camera. And so now let's get a little bit more into you and your entrepreneurial journey.
Okay.
So I want to go first. So because I've been wanting, because I've been hearing about you for a while, Tehsuan. Angela and I are very close. So I want you to tell us about yourself and specifically how and why you began your entrepreneurial journey.
So my parents were not entrepreneurs. My parents were, my mother was a bookkeeper when I was growing up. My father was a truck driver. And I remember even as a young person, looking at my parents and having the conscious thought that my parents are better than their job. They're more dynamic than their jobs. They're smarter. They're more charismatic. They're more capable. And it's an early memory that really kind of implanted in me this idea that it's not okay to be better than the environment and remain in it for the sake of making ends meet. And I'm also, growing up Black in America, ends didn't always meet anyway. So if they're not going to always meet, I might as well be as great as I could possibly be anyway. And then in my adult life, my background, I used to work in advertising. So when I was an employee at this agency doing, this advertising work, my experience was that, I started very green, completely green. I had no background in advertising whatsoever. But, through, a good enough presentation and getting to know, the folks that were running that company, they hired me eventually, and they taught me everything that I learned, everything that I know or knew. And but even with that, at a certain point, I was better than my job, and that was confirmed for me by, the managing director of the firm, of the agency. He wanted to do things for me and promote me in different ways. It wasn't a part of the company culture. They didn't promote from within. They hired from outside. And that was just the decision that was made. So however good I was, it wouldn't matter. And that created a good deal of resentment in me. So when I finally left that company, that's where my entrepreneurship kind of first started. I helped a friend of mine with a restaurant that he was opening, which got me into the cycle of being up incredibly early every day, with no one to answer to particularly. But, because he wasn't my boss, there was no boss. We were the bosses, but the customers ultimately are the bosses. So if we're not up early and the restaurant's not ready, the kitchen isn't prepped, the food isn't ready, the bosses are the people who pay us, the customers. They're not going to be able to pay us because we're not ready. And then, just what all that experience was like was very educational for me. I learned a lot in that. And then it was just, I think in entrepreneurship, you just kind of learn. You don't stop learning. So I've learned a lot in my own, journey in the companies that I've built up, and I just keep learning. So it keeps instilling in me the value of entrepreneurship and why I feel like I'm best suited for it.
Wow.
I love that. I love that. So, Sean, tell us, you talked about just your perseverance in getting into entrepreneurship, but what was your drive or motivation to creating the Newark Times?
So there's a book that I read a while ago called the Trust. The book is about the family who, years back, the patriarch of the family bought what was at that time the New York Times. This is in the late 1800s, turn of the century. And at that time when he bought the newspaper, newspapers weren't what we know newspapers to be today, because the world just wasn't as serious as it became in the 20th century, and it wasn't as connected either. So you think about the turn of the 20th century, you have the World War I, you have the Great Depression, you have all these very serious things that happen at very large scales. And newspapers went from being like the Inquirer or the Star, they were just kind of like gossip rags, to these journalistic platforms that were informing the citizens on what was going on in the world. And then because of that, it became more lucrative. So the New York Times becomes what we know as the New York Times. But what they did eventually was they put the New York Times as a entity into a trust, so that essentially they don't own it. The family doesn't technically own it anymore, but they can never lose it either. And I thought that type of security and forethought was really, really brilliant. And that's the type of thing that I want for my children and my grandchildren and whatnot. So that was one side of why I started the Newark Times. Sorry. The other side has to do with just the landscape in Newark at the time. So we started in 2014, and the newspaper of note was the Star Ledger. Their headquarters used to be in Newark. This was basically their epicenter of operation, and they moved out of Newark. They kind of divested their resources from Newark. I don't know if they have anyone who specifically covers Newark right now, because it's just so fragmented with what, the digital space has allowed for. But Newark was a place, and in some cases still is a place, where if it's a large platform like the Star Ledger or even like the New York Times or Wall Street Journal or any of those platforms, Newark doesn't get brought up for a lot of things. So Newark gets brought up for crime and violence in New Jersey quite readily. Newark doesn't get brought up for the lifestyle story. Newark doesn't get brought up for the tech story. Newark doesn't get brought up for the arts and entertainment story. All these things are very alive and well in Newark, but it's not the go-to as far as subject matter when you look at, you know, these platforms. So we just saw it as an opportunity to fill that void and to be the platform for all of those wonderful things that are happening every day in small and large scales in Newark. And there's as much as it's a reality of Newark, it also told us there's an audience for that. So that's where the impetus came from to actually start the Newark Times.
Wow, that's awesome. You know, while you were talking, I was actually thinking, I said, he may know a friend of mine. Her name is Karen Carter. She is the CEO and founder and publisher for the Forward Times, the Black newspaper here in the city of Houston. Just because I know that a lot of Black publishers kind of know each other in that circle. So your original vision for starting a publication, has that changed and evolved over time? And if it has, what has it evolved to today?
Yeah, it has evolved. It's gotten more clarified, I'd say. So there are certain subject matter that we don't cover for one reason or another. There's a short list of things that the New York Times editorially just does not speak to. So we don't do crime and violence reporting. We don't do someone got shot on Broad Street, end of story. And that is something that we do see in other platforms and other publications. But we don't do that. We don't cover politics. Although we cover civics and we cover government, we don't cover politics. And we don't cover religion, and we don't do scandal. Everything else, and there's a lot of everything else, is open for us to talk about. You know, it's open game. But we've thought about it over the years of if we should maintain that list of things not to touch. And as much as we've stood fast in that, we have also evolved in that there is more effort and energy on creating relationships within the community for people to share their stories. It's a challenging approach, but we feel like in the time and place that we're in now, it makes all the sense in the world that we don't set ourselves up as another ivory tower where we're telling people about themselves. So where the evolution has been in creating the platform as a space where people can speak to each other about themselves and each other.
So it sounds like, and I'm just going to do a follow-up question. It sounds like you're saying is you're trying to create this positive mental attitude about everything that you publish. Because when you think about the things you don't publish, it creates this negative story, right? Scandal, politics, crime, and violence. It creates that negativity in the mind. So I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and those things are so well covered already. Like they don't need us to cover it as well. You know?
That's the truth.
It's kind of like singing to the choir. So
Right.
Tehsuan, let me ask you this, right? So obviously we're still dealing with COVID-19 globally, right? And COVID has impacted the entire world, and you probably know this better than anybody else that all the studies point to the fact that small businesses, and even more specifically, minority-owned small businesses have been impacted to a much greater extent. So for you, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on your business? And second part two to the question is, how have you managed to pivot or leverage this environment?
Yeah, COVID has definitely affected the New York Times in good ways and not so good ways. But at the start of 2020 was when we had planned to go on a rather aggressive advertising push. And then COVID came, and finances and economically, everything got rather tight and rigid and restricted, and nobody was trying to spend money because it, didn't know where money was coming from. So it did have that effect. I wouldn't call it negative though, because it didn't put us out of business for one. So all things considered, it wasn't the worst thing in the world at all. But it gave us an opportunity to learn our audience in a new way. So there is an urgency that that comes with people wanting to know what's going on and wanting to know the layers of what's going on. So every location essentially in the country, if not the world, has run a COVID story in some fashion, over 2020. COVID-19 has penetrated our psyches and our daily lives so very much, but we are incredibly sophisticated people, and we've become more and more sophisticated, I believe, as the years progress. And we want to know the layers. We want to know not just what Dr. Fauci has to say about it, but we want to know like what's going on in the neighborhoods and the towns that we live in, what our local municipalities doing, what organizations are doing, how people are experiencing this and persevering through it. So it's given us the opportunity to learn that about our audience because of such urgency. Like it's important for people to know this, and they've made it clear by where they're giving their attention that they want to know the layers. They want to know the dynamics. They want the dimension of the thing, and not just a headline and a story and a photo and then on to the next. So that has been a very particular experience that we've had because of COVID.
So has that resulted in greater loyalty of your your viewership or listenership or readership?
I don't know. I don't know if it's resulted in greater loyalty, and I think a lot of that just has to do with my approach with the New York Times is I only owe the audience only owes me anything if I'm giving them something that they value. So I don't even know if I don't think about it in terms of people's loyalty to the New York Times. I think about it more so in terms of like what the New York Times is doing to garner and to earn people's attention and trust.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Tehsuan, of course, since we've been Facebook friends for a minute and Instagram and all that, I watch you and I see you on social media. And let me just say, you are, I think, a master at it. And as a person who struggles with social media, I'm highly impressed. And so you have such a great presence on these platforms. What tips would you share to other small businesses in order to help them engage potential clients and create a following?
I would say number one, to get out of your own head in terms of the production of the content. I want to know something. Give me something to form an opinion about. So if you're a restaurant, if you're a school, if you're a tax accountant, whatever you do, show me what you do. Sometimes it's just a snapshot of a meeting or a phone call or making a cheeseburger or whatever that is. But don't not show me what you're doing, because a lot of what's going on in this social media world that we live in has to do with just what do I remember about you readily. So yeah, I know you exist, but there are a lot of, and this is not even just a social media conversation, but there are a lot of restaurants that I've frequented and gone to, obviously more so 2019 and before. But if you're not in the front of my mind, I may think that you've gone out of business. I might actually just take it all the way to your closed. And people generally do that, whether it's you're closed for business or you're not open at this time of night. And maybe you are, but you haven't made it in, like, you haven't communicated that to me in any way that sticks. So social media is something that allows us to communicate. A, I'm here. B, this is what I do. C, this is how well I do it. And then get into the nuances of the culture of whatever your business is. But be about social media because it is the world that you're living in. Like we can't escape that, you know. So
No,
that's one thing I say.
Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, some of your like, I'll double watch. Like, all you're doing is walking outside with an umbrella, and I'm like, y'all laughing, but I promise you, I'm not. Am I like, or him making a grilled cheese sandwich or something? I'm like, but it's the way you do what you do. So you're exactly right. And then every so many posts, it may be, hey, you know, I have my studio. Anybody want, you know? So so you slide that in, but it's not bombarding us with it. So you make people want to follow you.
Right.
It's amazing. I'm gonna jump in right for Nicole to say something, but see, it's amazing how these things work. But just last night, Sean, we were teaching our boot campers in our business boot camp about being on social media, and you reaffirmed what I said. You have to be on. So if you're not planning to be on social media in this day and age, you're not planning to grow your business.
Right.
So
the only way that it is okay for you to not be on social media is if everybody else on social media is talking about you anyway.
Yeah.
If you got to that point, fine.
Wow, that's power. And I love the way that you make it so simple. Like, just show us what you do. Don't overcomplicate it. You know, keep it simple. I like that, because a lot of times we analysis of paralysis. What am I going to post, and how's it going to look? And you know, so I like the way that you just keep it simple. Get out your way. Just put it out there. So,
and then,
Sean,
sorry, can I add another thing before we?
Sure thing.
Another thing is. My brother has this saying that I think applies very much to small businesses or businesses in general on social media. Everybody likes to buy things. Nobody likes to be sold to. And a lot of times what happens with small businesses is we just use social media as a platform to sell. And nobody wants to see that content, like to be inundated with that content over and over again. Tell me about you. Don't just tell me what you have for sale, or tell me, you know what I mean? Like, I want to know more than that, because what's for sale is never the most interesting thing. But those are the two things I'd say. A, do it, and B, don't throw your sales down our throats every chance you get.
Love it. Golden nuggets right there. Golden nuggets. Awesome. Well, having been an entrepreneur for such a period of time now, you know, we all go through ups and downs and experience so much. What would you say was one of your most proud moments? And also then the second part to that is, what has been one of your greatest lessons learned in your journey?
Proud moments, I would say. That's a difficult one for me. I take pride every time I look at entrepreneurship as an aligning of like who I am. I don't believe in work-life balance. And I believe that's an idea, that's a concept that's been indoctrinated and we've been conditioned by, because there are so much more jobs and employees than there are entrepreneurs and business owners. All right, so it gives entrepreneurs a way, or it gives employees a way to further compartmentalize their lives. You know what I mean? But I believe that because I do what I am aligned with, drawn to, talented in, I don't need balance, because I get more out of my work than making ends meet. I get far more out of my work than most people get out of their jobs, and I would say than anybody gets out of their job. So for me, the prideful moments, the proud moments happen all the time, because I'm constantly proving the concept. You know, I'm proving that entrepreneurship is right for me. I'm proving that what I'm doing is not just good by my standards, but it's good by the standards of those clients of mine that I have. Those things, and then getting better, you know, adding more tools to my tool belt and adding more experiences and skills. Those things create pride in me, because it's about something that's bigger than me. You know, it is about my grandchildren and their grandchildren. You know what I mean? So I don't have a big moment, and yeah, I don't have a big moment to speak to. I can tell you about lessons though, for sure.
Yeah.
So one of the lessons that entrepreneurship has taught me is entrepreneurship taught me that what I did, as much as I'm not an employee, being an employee allowed me to work in an environment that was built for me. Entrepreneurship is building the environment.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to think about accounts payable so much. I didn't have to think about IT so much. I didn't have to think about all these other things that were outside my department when I was an employee. As an entrepreneur, I have to think about all of those, even if they're not my strong suit, even if it's not the high priority at the time, it inevitably will be at some point. So maybe the computers work great today and there's no need for constant IT support. The computers will not always work great. Maybe all of the clients are paying their bills on time and invoice out, check in. Great. It won't always be that way. There's going to be work that this company needs that is just accounts payable work or accounts receivable work. So learning that like the responsibility is to build this whole thing. And some of that building has to do with partnering. Some of it has to do with hiring. But the whole thing has to be built. There used to be this structure. It was a boat, big boat that was built out of wood in Newark. You used to sit like on a main street. Somebody had built it. And it was called Noah's Ark, right? And it was never finished. It was like, it just never got finished to the point that it had to eventually be torn down because they needed to use the space for something else. Nobody, like, it's not okay to be an unfinished boat. It's not okay to be an unfinished anything if you're ever going to fulfill your purpose. So the company has to be built wholly and fully.
Yeah,
I like that.
absolutely. Absolutely like that. Tehsuan, you've had a lot of success in building your business and taking pictures of Angela and other people too. But if you had to do something all over again as an entrepreneur, where would you take it and why?
I think that I would be more aggressive about building an environment around me that's conducive to entrepreneurship. So in the personal relationships that I have with other entrepreneurs, I would develop deeper relationships more aggressively. In the way that I spend my time, I would be more just more aggressive about this thing that I'm building. Like it's not a company only. It is a company, but it's more than a company. You know what I mean? It's going to be what, feeds families and provides for future generations and provides a service or a product. And like it does these things. It's not just a .com or a company. It's bigger than those things. And so I would be more aggressive about building the environment that allows for this company to be, to do its best work.
That's awesome. That's a great leadership lesson as well. We always say what people need more than any organization needs more than they need a leader. They need a leadership culture, right? It sounds like you're saying you would be more intentional about building that culture around you. I absolutely love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, Tehsuan, you're dropping some gold today. I'm
Yes,
page full of notes right now. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Let me tell you. But let me ask this, right? If you could have an in-depth entrepreneurial conversation with any person, dead or alive, who would it be? And obviously, what would you discuss?
That's a great question. That's a great question. It's one of those needle in the haystack questions. And as much as I know that there's no wrong answer, like I only got one shot here. There's a gentleman that I would talk to. I can't even remember his name right now, but he started a bank in Newark. This gentleman that started City National Bank in Newark. I would talk to him about, because it's creating a bank, which blind or otherwise most people have never even fathomed doing. B, he did it with his people first. So City National Bank was a Black-owned bank in Newark that essentially was started by a man who created an investment pool throughout the city of Newark of Black and brown people. But obviously he knew the structure to how to make this an actual bank. But that's the thing that he did that was outside his station. It was outside of what was ever expected of him. That would be somebody I'd be interested to talk to.
Okay, good stuff.
So, Tehsuan, there's a saying that says success leaves clues. What are some so what are some consistent habits that you would say has attributed to your success? And then which one suggestion would you offer to all entrepreneurs, as in if you do nothing else, do this one thing?
I'm a morning person. So being an early morning person, being an early riser, and being able to wake up and be very immediately energized is a great asset. I think, period. Like, not just in news media, not just in marketing, but period. Great starts. Nobody doesn't want a great start. Everybody wants a great finish, but a great start is a good step toward a great finish for sure. So that's one thing. Another is in my genuine curiosity and interest in other people and what they want. So take, for instance, the photo shoots. We shot because you needed headshots, right? But I know that you don't need 20 headshots. After a while, you got 4 or 5 headshots are probably going to situate you for what you need for the foreseeable future. There's some other shots that we can create together that are going to serve you outside of the headshots and press releases and all that. So getting to know like who you are, what are your how you're a little bit of how you're wired will allow me to do better for you than I would have done if I'd have just taken the brief. The request is photos for headshots. If I'd have just given you that, I would have satisfied the request. But I don't think I'm on the show right now because I gave you great headshots only. You know what I mean? So there is that. Being curious about other people is an invaluable tool.
I like that, being curious about other people. It really just talks about just building that relationship. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we like you said, we want to do the sale, get the sale, but fostering that opportunity to build relationships, getting to know their people, getting to know their needs, getting to know their wants, that's going to be long lasting. And that goes back to what you were saying before. To build a business, you're looking to build something for your children's children, right? This is legacy. So I love that. A lot of times with entrepreneurs, we have some limiting beliefs. And one of the limiting beliefs and common thoughts about entrepreneurs is that people in your circle really don't want to spend money with you. What would you say regarding that belief, or what has been your experience with that?
I believe that there is truth to that. I believe that the problem is if that's your expectation, that the success or failure of your business should never just rest in those in your proximity. Like it's not a good business if that's where its success, if that's where its life or death lies. Mm-hmm. I think that the world is a huge place, and we've experienced a very, very, very small slither of it. But when we do a thing like start a business, that's a platform for us to live a bigger life and get more experience and learn about more people and interact with more people. You know, so we take that idea of, like, you know, a lot of times the people around you don't support, and that becomes such a frustration. Like if we applied that to other jobs outside of ours or other businesses outside of ours, we probably see the futility in it rather quickly. Like if doctors only worked on their family, they would need their family to be sick in order to have a successful practice. That would, like, what doctor could get by with that?
Yeah. Please,
wow,
honey, so I can work on it.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think that it's the problem and the fault is not on people, whatever proximity they are to us, and whether or not they support the business. The problem is, does the business serve a wide enough swath of this 7 billion, you know, inhabited planet?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's that's awesome. I like that. I'm gonna have to put that in my memory bank to use that.
I'm already stealing. I got the note. That was good.
Nicole, you learn in the Air Force, you don't steal nothing, you reallocate it.
Yeah, there you go. There we go.
Stealing is illegal.
I'll give him credit, so it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, give credit, just reallocate it. So Tehsuan, in addition to the Newark Times, you're also the owner and operator of a photography studio, and you currently host a podcast, right? So you are a Renaissance man in a way, doing multiple things and excelling at it. So share with us a little bit about how those things came into existence, and give us the name of them, because we want people to be able to look it up and reach out.
Yeah, thank you for that. The photo studio is really an extension of Studio Creative Group, which is the marketing services company. So that photography is one of those services that we offer, as well as like video production and graphic design and web design and social media management, all those wonderful things. But there was a photo studio that I used to shoot at, because it was this state-of-the-art studio that Rutgers had funded and put together that was available to the community to use. And so I kind of got spoiled by that studio, because the lights are the top tier lights, and it's this huge wide space, and you know, you could really have a good time creating some wonderful work in there. Then COVID happened, and that space gets shut down. You know, there aren't community spaces were not a priority in March, April of 2020. Like, it was about the tamping out the virus. So this open space that the community could make could have access to got shut down. And then I realized that in my home, in my apartment, back to the conversation earlier about building an environment that would allow for the best work to happen. You know, my living room space was purely for relaxation and recreation. Like, it was a place to sit down, eat, watch television. That's about it. And I realized that I could set up a photo studio. I could still have the sofa. I could still have the television, but it doesn't need to only serve that purpose. I could actually make some money off that side of the house, or that side of the apartment. And so I figured out a way, and I did some research. I enrolled in YouTube University. I found out a way to build out a rig that I didn't have to put holes in the wall, which was a good thing. And then I built it out, and then I promoted it. And then next thing I know, Angela was sending me a message like, "Hey, some women that I take seriously and I believe have my best interests have told me that it's all right for me to contract you for some photos." And it turned out to be an incredibly successful thing compared to the investment that was put into it. But it was a fantastic lesson on top of whatever the dollar amount was in terms of taking action. Like, even no matter what, as long as you're alive and breathing and conscious, there's probably some area where you can take action. And if that action needs to be to change your environment, take the action to change your environment, whatever it needs to be. But you're in a position to take action, so take some action.
Wow, you're giving us nothing but pure gold. So let me ask this question to Sean. Man, this has been so good. I wish we had more time. We might have to have you back. But when you celebrate your retirement, what is the one thing that you would hope to hear or have shared by your clients and those who you serve?
I don't look forward to retirement. I don't expect to retire because I don't have a life that I want to escape. So I do want, whether it's at my deathbed or when I receive my Lifetime Achievement Award from wherever, I do want it to be said that he was who he said he was. He is the person that we experienced him to be, and all of those facets. I'm not the same thing to everyone. I don't expect to be, but I want to be. I want it to be that there was no representative. Tehsuan was Tehsuan, and some days that was great, and some days I unfollowed him on Instagram because of what he said. But he was always Tehsuan.
So good.
Wow, that was amazing. Guys, if you were listening, I don't know about you, I'm sitting here, I got like pages and notes, all the golden nuggets that was dropped today. It was amazing. I mean, making sure your entrepreneur journey is in line with who you are. The nuggets on social media, the idea that of build an environment that's conducive to your business growth, and most important, just take action, guys. I know that you found value, so thank you for coming on and sharing. And guys, if you found value tonight, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you start a watch party, and don't forget to follow the New York Times and share these links. Make sure you support. And the links are in the comments. So we're going to wrap up. Thank you again, Tehsuan, for coming on, adding great value to us as founders, us and our audience. It's amazing what you're doing. So continue to do great things, and we'll definitely support and follow you as well. So audience, make sure that you follow us on YouTube channel. We have our Facebook page, and truly, I want you to make sure that you're submitting your recommendations. Remember, we have our business of the month. Get those recommendations out there. If you have business owners, businesses that you want to recognize for their great customer service, their quality of work, make sure you put them in the link and tag us with it. We want to recognize them. And this is what this is all about, building the relationship of the things that we do. Also, you want to be able to show it's not too late to sign up for Future Proof 2021. So go to the EL page and make sure you get the information, or post a comment in the feed, and we'll send the link to you. So it has always been a pleasure, guys. Hasn't this been good to get you guys?
Absolutely, this has been awesome.
No doubt.
This is how we start this 2021. We're just going higher and higher. So guys, continue to stay abreast. We'll be back. The replay will be on Sunday at 3 p.m. and stay tuned again for the candle lighting at 8:30. So we'll see you soon.